and set out 9 months and 33,000 miles ago.
There were signs, there was noise, it was mayhem. You stood and watched and let it wash over you. Chichester had done single-handed circumnavigation and brought his vessel back home. Stirring stuff, boys' own stuff. Chichester started the ball rolling. People were looking for what's the new challenge, what's the next frontier.
Chichester stopped halfway. He pulled into Australia and did quite serious refits. I thought, that's it, one thing left to be done. Go around the world, single-handed, but non-stop.
The general public got into the spirit of it, and newspapers as well. And of course, the Sunday Times came up with the idea of a non-stop race around the world.
There could be no greater challenge. The first part, down to the South Atlantic, was fairly kind, but then your troubles started. Once you rounded the Cape of Good Hope, you were into the roaring 40s, that endless band of storms that circled the world. Then, thousands of miles later, you passed south of Australia, New Zealand, and across the rest of the Pacific to Cape Horn. The seas became narrower there, and as they funneled together, they grew wilder. Then up past the Falkland Islands, across the equator, back into the North Atlantic, and you were on your way home.
In the spring of 1968, some of the world's most experienced sailors began to gather in the ports of Britain. They were stepping forward as contenders in the greatest endurance test of all time.
This wasn't a race in the normal sense of the word. You could leave whenever you liked, but you had to leave before October the 31st to avoid the really severe winter weather at Cape Horn. The first man to do it would get the Golden Globe. The boat that went round fastest would get the big prize of £5,000.
This was something that a human hadn't yet attempted to do. First of all, we didn't know if a boat could take it. Secondly, there was considerable doubt if a human could take it. Psychiatrists said that a human would go mad if they tried to do it. We're talking about 10 months of loneliness. But the more people told me it wasn't possible and I couldn't do it, the more I was convinced I could do it. The one I thought would prove real competition was Bernard Matessier. He was highly experienced.
Bernard était un poète et un philosophe. Et il a eu une soif de prouver à lui-même qu'il était capable de faire ça. Il voulait être le premier à avoir fait un tour du monde. C'était un défi vis-à-vis de lui-même. C'était pas pour gagner une course.
The French adventurer Bernard Moitessier and the British merchant marine captain Robin Knox-Johnson were among 9 men announced in the final lineup. Each knew the winners would earn their place in history.
They were proper seamen, experienced sailors. And then there was the mystery man, Don Crowhurst.
What sort of attitude of mind does a single-handed sailor have to have?
I think one's psychology has to be fairly stable, and one has to be constantly aware of the risks one is running, which need not necessarily be much greater.
100-ton truck goes by. I'm going to run off any second. All right, then we can change mags.
I just thought it's too enormous to take on something like that. I didn't give it some serious thought. But there is a moment when an opportunity arises, and if you don't grasp it, that's it. The first time I saw him was at a party at my flat. I thought what a wonderfully warm, vigorous and lively person he was. I had a red dress on and he immediately said, "Whose husband did you arrive with?" He started telling my fortune and he said, "You're going to marry an impossible man, but you're going to be greatly loved."